On his last 3 starts in the fall against Japan, Ecuador and Paraguay. Anthony Robinson, Balogun couldn't quite lay that one off, but falls back anyway to the United States here with Johnny Cardoso. Ware's onside down the right here, he's up against De Kuyper. Positive from Ware, and Weston McKennie was trying to meet it at the front post. It was well defended and out for a throw on the near side for the US. Tillman backwards towards Tessman, who has dropped deep in the middle of the 2 central defenders. He's played at the back lately at club level. Tillman with a really good run forward, and Pulisic able to pick up the pieces here on the edge of the box. Christian Pulisic trying to carve something out here, comes back towards Weston McKennie. Robinson. Falls here for Tillman, through for Balogun. Balogun strikes! Lommans with a save, low to his left. On the half hour it remains 0-0 here in Atlanta. An end-to-end encounter. 2 games left before Mauricio Pochettino names his World Cup squad. And then after that, games against Senegal and Germany prior to the opening match of the World Cup for the United States. Doku down the left side as he cuts in, couldn't find a way through. He's got support there from De Kuyper. Back for Raska, the Rangers midfielder. De Bruyne all the way towards Doku at that left side of the penalty area here. Doku looking to create an opportunity, gives it away. Robinson towards halfway. Balogun trying to hold it up, but it comes straight back for Salamakers here for Belgium. Belgium ranked 9th in the world coming into this international window. De Bast.
They're a team that's fine without possession, but if you're new to following the U.S., you're getting excited about the World Cup. It definitely doesn't look like Belgium is the higher-ranked team. I mean, U.S. really instigating this match so far. Pochettino's got to be happy with the way they're performing.
U.S. Soccer on TNT is presented by Marriott Bonvoy, where game day checks in. 32 minutes gone here in Atlanta. Packed house at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and the United States tied 0-0 with Belgium. Mentioned earlier the fact that the squad will be announced in 59 days. May 26th is the date to circle in New York City. Mauricio Pochettino telling us yesterday that these 2 games will not make his decision. Players' performances over the course of the last 18 months since he's been here will ultimately lead to the decision, but it's very hard to see past what is happening here against Belgium and Portugal when you look to some of the close calls that he's going to have to make. He said it's going to be much more difficult than any decisions he ever had to make at club level. Deciding which players may or may not make a World Cup squad can be career-defining for them.
Yeah, I think talent and capabilities are not going to be the tiebreaker. He pointed to his chest, talked a lot about emotion and passion. I mean, it's going to be chemistry. It's going to be players that just refuse to be left off this roster that are going to make up his mind last minute.
He actually said, I have to pick the right team, not the best team. Lommans with the ball out wide to the left side. Belgium will play in Group G at the World Cup. They'll kick off in Seattle on June 15th against Egypt. They'll play in LA against Iran, and then New Zealand in Vancouver. Next up for them, they're in Chicago on Tuesday against Mexico. They have pre-World Cup games coming up against Croatia and Tunisia just before the World Cup kicks off.
Well, and by the way, these friendlies get picked well in advance, but this is a team that it's a good dress rehearsal, a lead up, but this is a team the U.S. could face very early on, round of 32, round of 16. They could see them early in the World Cup if things go certain ways in their groups.
Johnny Cardoso with the ball out to Ream on the left side. Mauricio Pochettino was in attendance in Madrid for a Champions League game recently for Atletico Madrid against Spurs, watching Johnny Cardoso. McKennie. That's well defended by
really
Debast.
well done. I mean, Debast just reads what he wants to do there, but still great running from Weston McKennie, and Robinson looks sharp. I mean, there's a lot of times he's been under pressure, the ball's been fired into him, and he's been able to clean it up, pick the right pass. He's looked really good.
Hey, Luke, you were just talking about Johnny Cardoso. I was reading an article by Marca, and a journalist said he's the best American player at the moment at Atletico Madrid, especially started 4 of the last 5 games for the Rojiblanco. Guys, 800 minutes with the club, he has progressed and impressed in every stat possible, from passing percentage to duels, and covered ground. 7 miles he covered, more than any other player on the team in those legs against Tottenham in the Champions League matches. So he's putting in his shift at the club level, and of course Mauricio wants to see the impact he could do on the United States team. So far, in my opinion, we've seen some good movements from him, both attacking and defensively. Now see if he could keep doing it on a consistent basis.
Ream with the challenge.
Not to say it's hypocritical or to fight against it, but Pochettino says these 2 games won't change his mind. I think Cardoso is one player that will change his mind. I mean, no doubt he is being trusted at the club level by probably one of the most demanding managers in the world. But it's performing here he needs to see, and he's done it in the past. I think Cardoso has probably the biggest opportunity to carve his name into that roster.
7 miles covered, Melissa mentioned there. You or Melissa most likely to cover 7 miles in a game during your career?
This one's easy, Melissa. It's not even a question.
Yeah, let's put a vote on that.
And even now.
What was your average? You know, but they probably didn't do.
It's not about how far. It's not about how far you ran.
It's about what you do.
What you did when the ball came to you while you were standing still.
Yeah, we got Pibe Valderrama here in the stadium, by the way. We should ask him.
Is he really here?
Yeah, he is.
Oh man, I played against that guy. Didn't get near him.
You know,
what a beautiful player.
The next poll we should do is who has the better set of hair? You,
Him.
Kyle,
Easy.
Kevin De Bruyne, or Pibe Valderrama?
Pibe.
Doku towards the byline here, and Turner gets a touch to it, and it's just knocked in on the goal line, but the flag is up. Or in fact, it's handball. It won't count.
Keylari's not arguing it at all. A little bit fortunate because this could hit any part of his body. You know, as that's coming through, it could very easily just come off that chest and fall down, but he doesn't argue it at all. It was hard to tell from that first replay, but the referee was right there.
And VAR agrees it's the correct decision after a brief pause.
A little bit lucky there.
Mackenzie's ball forward down the right side. McKennie with the flick in towards Balogun. The best chances have gone the way of the United States. Longham's forced into action already on a couple of occasions, and here the US get the corner on the far side. Corner number 4.
And Balogun, I just love what a willing runner he is off the ball. I mean, has definitely demonstrated coming back to the ball. He's a good link-up player. We've been waiting for a 9 to be a consistent goal scorer. He is that right now. He is very clearly top of that pecking order, but just his willingness, you know, almost to the end of the first half here, to still be running in behind. I love it.
Anthony Robinson across to the far side to take this one. Robinson's ball for McKennie! It's Weston McKennie with a goal! For club and country, a man in confident mood. And it's 1-0 for the United States.
Watch where he comes from. I mean, he just reads this so quickly, and looks like it was Salimakers who just doesn't see him, and it wasn't his man initially. And that is such a wonderful touch. I mean, he knows all he's got to do is just shape that foot. The ball was excellent. It had pace on it. It froze the goalkeeper because it had so much pace and wasn't at that height that he could go challenge it. You see his signature celebration, the reaction from Pochettino, but what a lovely finish there from Weston McKennie. And I don't know if that was actually
Doesn't look like it.
The reaction during that time, but he was the only person not exactly going bananas. But what a finish from McKennie.
Guys, in the pregame interview, I asked Weston, what does the team need to do to execute the game plan? As simple as that, score goals. And that's exactly what he did.
Pulisic now down the left side. Pulisic's ball back in is knocked away. The United States here with Belgium on the ropes as we head towards the final 5 minutes of the first half. Seventh all-time meeting. US only winning once in the previous 6. Belgium winning 5. Last US win coming in 1930 in the World Cup group stage in Uruguay. Here's Doku into the box. Doku plays it back for De Bruyne. And then just wide.
And yeah, it's been tough to get around Tim Weah, and you got to give Weah credit. He's had a really good half on Doku, and he's had to go 1v1 a lot. But Doku not only showing his incredible speed, but just the strength to throw Tim Weah off.
Manchester City man Doku across for Salamanca's here just outside the box. De Bast. Helped on by De Kuiper. De Bruyne finds Doku. Back for Kevin De Bruyne!
Looked like it took a deflection.
Well, Belgium certainly wanted that.
Here's a look at the goal again, and this will be a good look at just really pouring out to attack the ball, and you could see Salamanca's just complaining that wasn't his mark, but you got to go challenge it. Weston McKennie just tucks in, gets on the other side of him, but look at how lovely that touch is. Just positions that foot for it to just deflect and go into that side netting. Wonderful goal.
Weston McKennie's 12th international goal, and his first since scoring 2 in a 7-0 win against Grenada back in the Nations League in March of 2023. Coming up next, it is the Volkswagen halftime show. Get the thoughts of Liam Dunny, Brad Guzan, and DeMarcus Beasley as well. Tessman hooks this one high in towards the back post. Robson Pulisic. Robinson's ball in towards the edge of the box. Robinson with an assist on his return to the team. And the referee just calling a halt here because Onana is down. So play will be stopped as the 24-year-old Villaman might need treatment here. Amadou Onana actually made his debut in June of 2022 and made the World Cup squad later that year. He only had 2 caps before playing at the World Cup in Qatar.
Yeah, just before that, Weston McKennie almost got on the end of another one, and for young players at home, you won't see it often, but don't follow the ball. When we're in the final third or we're in transition, watch Weston McKennie. It's just the timing of the runs and how he finds that space. Great midfield goal scorers, Frank Lampard, some of these players over the years, yeah, it's about technique and finishing, but it's just about timing. And he's really become a master at being able to find those little spots and time where the ball's going to go.
Ream turning out of trouble and looking for the ball downfield to Balogun, but it's picked up here by De Bast.
Go!
Slip there from Mekala. For the United States here. The assist from Anthony Robinson, the goal from Weston McKennie in the 39th minute here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Mauricio Pochettino hasn't yet beaten a European team during his time as the US head coach. Only played European opposition twice, both last summer. Defeats against Turkey and Switzerland. The pass with the ball out to Doku down the left side. Doku causing problems once again. Matt Turner with the save. All the way out for De Baas to drive it in. Belgium are level in the final minute of the first half in Atlanta. De Baas from distance with a first international goal.
Listen, you could be critical of giving up a goal when they give up a goal. That's just an excellent strike. And Turner does everything he can do, and players are coming out there. That is just a phenomenal strike. Watch this ball. And it's knuckling it a little bit. You could say, you know, Ream's got to get a foot to that. It goes through a crowd, but that ball is traveling at such an incredible speed. I think Turner he sees it a little late just because it comes through so many legs. So obviously awful time to give up a goal, but what a strike from De Baas.
That stoppage time is presented by Marriott Bonvoy. We're into 3 minutes of time being added on at the end of the half as Belgium level things just before the whistle here. De Baas, the youngster from Sporting, played every minute of World Cup qualifying until missing the final 2 games in November with an injury. And that's the first time he scored at senior level for his country. De Ketelaere down the right side. De Ketelaere still going. Here's De Bruyne. All of a sudden it's the United States here on the back foot, but Doku can't quite keep that one in play on the far side.
Hey guys, not to give any merit for that goal because that was a wonderful strike, but on the defensive side for the US, Mauricio and Jesus Perez down here.
Doku racing in towards the edge of the area, comes back for Onana, and now Meunier trying to get there. Robinson sliding in. Salamaca's down the right side. Closed down by Pulisic. Midway through the 3 minutes being added on at the end of this half, and all the way back to Lomans. Melissa.
As I was saying, Mauricio and Jesus Perez, when that initial ball was at half line, he wanted Balogun to step to immediate pressure in that build-up. 3 pass sequences left, that was the goal. So it's about that immediate pressure that he wants, that consistency, that intensity when they are in that defensive transition, especially at that midline when Belgium is in possession.
Ball around the back here, finds Doku behind where? It's Doku pulling it back, and Robinson across to put that ball behind for a corner. What will probably be the last act of this first half. 5th corner of the game coming up for Belgium.
And Doku's just slowly become a menace. Probably a frustrating half hour, and then he's been a little bit irresistible at the end of this half.
Referee just going in there for a word with Mekala, who has come forward from the back. Jostling for position there with Johnny Cardoso. De Bruyne's ball in towards the edge of the box for Salamanca, who drives it in. Turner parries away. And the flag is up. Matt Turner called into action a number of times now towards the end of the half as the whistle goes at the end of the first 45 minutes here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. The United States taking the lead in the 39th minute through Weston McKennie. De Baas leveling from long range in the final minute of the half. US Soccer on TNT is presented by Marriott Bonvoy. It's 1-1 in Atlanta. Soccer on TNT is presented by Marriott Bonvoy. And here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, it's tied 1-1 at halftime between the United States and Belgium. De Baas's first international goal, cancelling out a strike from Weston McKennie in the 39th minute. And Christian Roldan will be coming into this game at half-time. 11 changes are allowed today in this match, an agreement between the United States and Belgium, and Maurizio Pochettino looks to be going to his bench after 45 minutes of play. Matt Turner is out, but still waiting for everybody else, either from the United States, and no sign of anybody from Belgium yet either.
Yeah, they all went in. None of them stayed out here.
Nothing.
I remember doing the opening game of Copa America here in this stadium in 2024, and Lionel Messi and Argentina decided to take their time, and it ended up being a 22-minute halftime that night.
There's probably only one person in the world that can get away with that.
Exactly. Roldan for Cardoso is the change that is being made by Maurizio Pochettino. Wonder what that means.
Hard to speculate if he picked up anything, or there's any knock, or if this was a planned change. You would have to guess like for like. But yeah, listen, you talk about friendlies, and Pochettino hates that word, and Belgian team not looking at it as a friendly, but also, you know, you have camaraderie, you like your guys, you're brothers, you fight, but it's not friendly when these two players are battling for a life-changing decision to get in the World Cup.
Well, let's hear from Maurizio Pochettino here with Melissa.
Mauricio, what were your thoughts on that first half performance?
Sorry?
Your thoughts on the first half performance?
Well, I think it was a good performance. I think positive. I like it that we conceded on the end, but I think the team made a big effort. Again, a very good team. And I think we need to be positive about the performance.
What was your message to the guys in the locker room for this second half?
No, I think keep pushing, try to use better the ball in possession. I think we need to have more the possession. We need to dominate a little bit more. But I think in overall, I think the performance is okay.
Thank you, Mauricio.
You're welcome.
Still waiting for Belgium here. It appears as if it is just the one change for the United States. Christian Roldan is a player who didn't feature much under Maurizio Pochettino in the early months, but he's now appeared in 7 games in a row since coming into the squad last September. Roldan in the World Cup squad in 2022 in Qatar, but didn't play. And certainly he's a player that Maurizio Pochettino loves to have around, not just on the pitch, but off it as well.
It sounds like a cliche, but dependable. Yeah, and listen, there are players that are going to go to the World Cup and not see a lot of minutes. And if this is one of them, he is an excellent player, personality-wise, chemistry-wise, professionalism-wise, to have with the team during the World Cup.
So the change confirmed. Johnny Cardoso makes way after 45 minutes of play as Christian Roldan comes in. It appears as if it is the same 11 for Belgium that will start this second half here in Atlanta. We're told from the touchline that it is not an injury for Johnny Cardoso. Four shots on target for both of these sides in the first 45 minutes. US with 42% of the possession. Belgium with 13 shots in total to the 8 from the United States. And it was Weston McKennie's goal that gave Maurizio Pochettino's side the advantage, only for De Baest to score in the final minute of the first 45 to ensure this one is tied up. Both of these nations looking to extend unbeaten runs. For Belgium, it would take it up to 10 games without a loss. They've won 6 and drawn 3 of their last 9 matches. And they've scored in 9 of those 10 games now during this unbeaten run, if this one holds. Multiple goals on 6 occasions. Kuipers with the throw forward. Weah gets ahead to it as it drops down for Tillman. Now Christian Pulisic picks this one up, has a look at goal. Couldn't quite find the space to get the shot away. Tillman slowly getting back to his feet here as Roldan finds Pulisic. Tasman turns. McKenzie down the right side. This is Weah. Now Tasman. No Chris Richards today, by the way. he is out with an injury. And Mackenzie is at the back alongside Tim Ream. Chris Richards denied the opportunity to start on his birthday today. Miles Robinson missing due to an injury as well. Three wins in a row for the US against Australia by 2-1. Then in November, 2-1 against Paraguay, 5-1 against Uruguay.
Yeah, just hits the wall of Tessman.
I love the quote from Tanner Tessman yesterday about his success. He said, whether you're playing for Leon, whether you're playing as a kid in Birmingham, Alabama, or at the World Cup, you play the same way. You play with intensity. And Tanner Tessman's form for both club and country have him in with an excellent chance of making this squad for a first World Cup appearance. Too far for his family and friends to make the drive for this one from Birmingham, Alabama. Doku here down the left side, running against Christian Roldan. And out it goes for a corner here. Number 6, and Doku continuing where he left off in that first half, where he was such a threat down that left touchline, as you would expect for someone who has achieved so much. Had a calf injury in February, so missed some action there, but has been back of late. Played 90 minutes in both legs of the Champions League round of 16 for Manchester City in their loss against Real Madrid. De Bruyne with this corner. And Turner underneath it to claim. Kevin De Bruyne winning the Premier League 6 times with Manchester City. A couple of FA Cups, 5 League Cups and Champions League as well in 2023. Here's Pulisic over halfway. Anthony Robinson with the assist today for Weston McKennie's go-ahead goal before the leveller right at the end of the half. Robinson making a huge impact down that left side. He's got assists in back-to-back US appearances for the first time in his career, but 495 days apart.
That's it?
Just 495. Assisted Ricardo Pepi last time we saw him. This is Pulisic. Robinson down the left side. And De Bruyne brings it down. Highly effective first half for Kevin De Bruyne, who wears the captain's armband here for Belgium. Coming into this game, 115 caps for De Bruyne. 166 for the other 10 starters for Belgium today. 76 of those for Meunier. So plenty of players who are in the earlier stages of their international careers with Belgium. This is where Doku get a touch, and then McKennie stepping inside there. McKennie's ball through, trying to pick out Balogun. Cross comes Mekala, down the left side it goes. Doku picks it up at the touchline. Looked like it might have gone out, but the assistant referee is right there. Didn't give anything, and here goes the throw the way of the United States here. 5 minutes into this second half. Tim Howard setting a World Cup single game record with 15 saves the last time these teams met in the World Cup round of 16 in 2014. De Bruyne and Lukaku with the Belgium goals that day in extra time. Lukaku pulling out of this squad, as did Trossard. Those 2 players missing with injury after the squad had been named. Doku. Free kick given against him.
See Christian Pulisic right at midfield right now, right in the center circle. It just at times was in the first half. They got to find him in these moments. They got to try to unlock him. We're
running up to Kuiper down this right side. Weah did well there, gets the ball back to Christian Pulisic, who dances his way through. Pulisic all the way, but he couldn't find the finish. He did so well to get into that position, but couldn't pick out that top corner.